Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day, and today I want to show you guys what I've done with the sugarcane farm, because I'm pretty happy with this so far. It is not 100% done, but there are really some nice areas of this build coming together. What? Oh, that was the hitbox of that grass. I was wondering what this weird black line was crossing my vision. Turns out I was just standing in the tall grass. No worries. So yeah, anyway, this is the sugarcane farm. It looks a little bit different now. As you can tell, I've been working on turning it into a fantasy-style medieval build. These big, like, overhanged section of the roofs, the kind of roof dormers here, are not normally the kind of thing I tend to build, but I decided maybe we would go a little bit more out there with the style of things. Now, the thing about this is it does look a little bit, if you're looking at the build straight on, it does look like the build has these giant kind of elf ears. It's even more noticeable if we get up to that mountaintop over there and you look at it down the side, and you'll also notice that I haven't done the side wall here, but look at that! It's just got these giant like goblin ears coming out either side, which I kind of like, actually. Like, I'm getting more and more used to it as a build style as I go, but you see people building in this sort of exaggerated medieval style quite a lot. The other unfortunate thing about this is that it's an even numbered build because of the nature of the sugarcane farm, the fact that we built it kind of 8 blocks long in the mechanism part there. So the end had to be 2 blocks wide, and that means we can't really bring it to a peak the way we can with the ones on the sides. It kind of has to be a little bit of a flatter, kind of wider section here, which sort of sucks. I don't prefer to build stuff on even numbers typically if I can help it, or at least if I do, then I make some features of it offset, like doorways and things like that. You don't always want to have a double door in there. You don't always want to have a double kind of thick peak roof. But there you go. That's just how it had to be because of the design of this place, and I didn't want to just extend one wall out 1 block kind of thing. But it's basically the same on the other side. We're going to add a couple of features to this today to make it look a little bit better. We've got each of the peaked roofs. I decided it'd be fun to kind of hang some fences off of there to simulate like ropes, and I think we might even go one step further with this middle one, because the middle area is left open, and I'm sort of leaving it open there intentionally because I want to imagine that this section up here is actually a winch and pulley system that you could use to transport goods up to the second floor, because the first floor is basically entirely a sugarcane farm. You can't really bring anything in there, and we're probably going to have platforms attached to these ropes that could kind of pull stuff up to this opening on the second floor, and that's where a lot of the trading and stuff is going to happen. I might even actually, now that I think of it, I might actually include some sort of staircase. I've got this design on both sides where the stairs are kind of forming these cross beam sort of situations here, and I might actually add in a kind of porch system, maybe. Like, we could have like a little porch up here with a staircase that leads up to the second floor up here, and then we can floor this whole place off and we can end up using this for something else. In fact, we might end up using it for the subject of today's video, because we're not going to do too much more building on this in the video. We're going to add in the sort of lift, and it's not going to be any kind of mechanism here. It's just going to be an aesthetic thing. You know, we're not going to be able to automate it in any way, because that would require pistons and things like that, and it would also look a lot different. You can't really automate ropes out of fences. It doesn't really work that way. It can't be that simplistic. But if we add a couple of fences like so, I think we might actually try and have the lift platform sort of level with this. And it's going to have to be quite a wide platform, because obviously the roof overhangs quite substantially, so it's going to have to make it look like we could offload some of the stuff into there. Or maybe we should bring this out a little bit. Do you think maybe we'll make like a balcony coming out from the build there to sort of meet in the middle with this system? Because what I want to do is include some of these stone slabs. Let's bring it down to about here. I think that's probably going to be as good as we're going to get. And then we'll bring these stone slabs down like so. And I want to make this a platform about that long. Maybe we'll double up on that middle one there to make it look like, you know what, here's a fun trick. If you want to make it look like the fences go all the way through and attach to something on the other side, make a button out of the same wood type and put that in there, and that looks like it's kind of piercing through the stone slabs there. That's a fun little building tip for you guys. So we're going to make this lift platform maybe, I don't know, 3x5 or something like that, or maybe 5x5 if it's going to be completely square. That would help it look a bit balanced. I'm going to need to grab a little bit more smooth stone for this, so I might grab some from the local terrain here, because I will need a few more slabs. Probably shouldn't need that many more. Let's grab one more so we can make it 9 smooth stone and pop down our crafting table. I've been bringing the crafting table with me when I've been building this because it's so much easier building some of the stuff. If I run out of stairs or slabs or anything like that while I'm up on the roof, I can pretty easily make them with a crafting table at hand. So yeah, let's widen this out so it is 5 by 5. We should have enough slabs to finish that off. That's 4 by 5, and there we go. Just add those around the sides. Yeah, now we can add maybe some fences kind of around the outside to make it look like the stuff is better contained. Add some fences to this side to square it off like so, and then maybe we could put some other materials in here. Now, I'm not certain what I want to put in here yet, but, you know, if it was carrying up, say, a couple of shulker boxes worth of stuff, those look pretty good as crates. Alternatively, if we wanted to, we could put down another crafting table up here, and I'll put that next to the fence. The problem with using fences for stuff like this is that blocks will join to those fences, and there isn't really a way of preventing them from doing that without using a debug stick, which is something that you can't really get in survival at all. It's just something you can spawn in for yourself in creative mode. So, yeah, let's make a little balcony over here real quick. Let's actually make this out of oak so it really stands out from the rest of the build, like so. And then maybe we could put in, I don't know, like a trap door or two along the side here just to make it look like this is kind of temporary. It's the sort of thing that could fold down. You know what, even having a section of trapdoors on each side of the build could look quite good. Let's give that a try. Oh, you know what? Instead of that, maybe we'll use those instead of these fences. There's a little bit of trial and error involved in the process of stuff like this, so it's always fun to experiment with a few things. Now, those are going to have to go on the outside, because if we put them on the inside, like that, if we fold up a trapdoor there, we can't put one next to it on this side of the block. It would have to go on the outside, like so. So let's remove this and pop one there, like so, like that. Yeah, okay, so that looks like it's squaring off the corners more, and then those won't necessarily attach to blocks if we want to put them up on here, so let's go with that instead of hanging them down like this. Oh, a zombie came out to play during the daytime. Just gonna take care of you real quick. Oh, no, he set me on fire. Oh, dear. That was not what I intended. Where's my bucket of water? There we go. Let's put ourselves out. Don't normally get set on fire all that often, so it's a rare occasion we can use the bucket of water. Right, let me get back up on there. Put torches on each side here so I can give myself something to place the trapdoors on. Wonderful, because otherwise, if you try and place trapdoors like on the side of something, it doesn't always work that way. Say if I wanted to place a trapdoor like here, and then I wanted it to fold up that way, it's based on whatever position you were facing when you put the trapdoor down, not whatever position you're facing when you want to open it again. So it's a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of trial and error, making sure everything is placed in the right orientation. And what do you know, we had the perfect amount of trapdoors for that, so I guess it was fate. And that actually looks like a pretty decent lifting platform. I will probably put a torch on here just so it stays lit up. And yeah, we can figure out some other sort of system to attach it to this. Maybe we'll put a stair on there like that, and so it can look like the edge of the platform is a little bit more reinforced. Let's quickly jump into bed. And I've flown back to the house to grab a little bit more dark oak wood, because I think if we make some dark oak pillars on the sides here, we can make a pretty convincing kind of lattice sort of thing using fences of both oak and spruce. If we do something like this, and then kind of alternate them going up like so, it'll look like this section is a little bit better supported. And perhaps we can strip away these top logs because the platform has been rubbing against those or something like that. I don't know. I think that's probably a good start for the moment. We might work on this a little bit later on. Maybe I'll do a bit more on it off camera. Perhaps we'll put the corners coming down like so it looks like it can rest on the ground a little bit better. Yeah, I think that'll do. I think that'll do for the moment. Okay, I did a little bit more. I did a little bit more just to place a couple of fences in there to make that look like it was a little bit better supported, and I changed these out for stairs so that it didn't look like the trapdoors were just resting here on the walkway out to this. But yeah, I think this is good. I think this is good. So we're back in the house, and I will drop off some of this stuff that is just hanging out in my inventory here. We can put some of this away for the most part, and I want to get on to talking about what we're going to do in today's episode. Today, I'm going to introduce a concept that a lot of you will probably be familiar with already if you've watched any other Minecraft videos, but it's a fun one to get into at this stage in the game, and we're going to need a few furnaces for this. In fact, I might actually take down some of the furnaces that we've got stacked up downstairs, because a little country house like this probably doesn't need this many furnaces. Maybe we'll take those out, and we could put in another bit of cobblestone there just to kind of blend that into the chimney structure. And let's make a couple of other furnaces with this as well. So what we're going to talk about today is the process of automating smelting. So normally in furnaces, you put stuff in manually, you end up smelting it manually. You put in the fuel, you put in the input, and then you just take out the stuff that it outputs manually. But there is a way of automating that thanks to some of the stuff we've already explored elsewhere in this series. I'm talking about things like hoppers and minecarts. We're not going to get into the minecart side of things just yet. I'm just going to take all of this iron. What am I doing? And I'm going to cover the basics of automation first. So those of you guys who are familiar with stuff like this already might think I'm like not doing this the most efficient way, but trust me, we will get to the most efficient way a little bit later on. So I'm going to make 6 hoppers to start out with, and we're going to need a couple of additional chests. So luckily I've got a fair amount of oak wood I can convert into chests. Let's leave 6 of those as well. So 6 furnaces, 6 chests, and 6 hoppers. That's probably a pretty good start. And we're going to head up here to the industrial area, which is kind of what I've decided I'm going to call this place. And we're probably going to eventually build a giant kind of smelting system up here in the top area of the sugarcane farm. But for now, I want to demonstrate on a nice flat area so you guys can see what I'm talking about without any of the other stuff getting in the way. So the humble furnace has been used from the very beginning of the game to smelt things into other things. And you may or may not know that this furnace can actually be interacted with in a number of different ways by hoppers. For example, if you place a hopper on the top of a furnace, you can actually put all of the resources that you want to smelt in there. I actually didn't bring a great deal of stuff that I could smelt. Let's see. Let's actually smelt some of the chorus fruit. Sure, why not? We've got some chorus flowers, so we can always grow a little bit more, but we'll use this as an example. So if I put the chorus fruit into this hopper, you'll notice it starts to drain away, and it's going into the top slot of the furnace where the input stuff goes, so where the material that you want to smelt is supposed to go. Now, if we add a hopper to the sides or the back of a furnace, or even the front, actually, I'm fairly certain you can feed fuel in to the front as well. But notice the hopper is facing directly into the furnace like so. If I now add some coal to it, and I can do that by throwing it directly on top of the hopper like so, the hopper is picking all of that up, and that is feeding furnace fuel into the fuel slot. So that has now actually started to smelt up the chorus fruit because it burned one as soon as it got in there. And that's coming out as popped chorus fruit, which we can combine with the blaze rods in our inventory to make another source of light. As I mentioned, any of the faces of a hopper, any of the side faces, you can add fuel in and it will automatically start adding it to the fuel slot. And it will do that until the fuel slot is filled up or the hopper has completely run out of contents. Now, obviously, if you wanted to have a chest of stuff on top of these 2 hoppers like so, you could put all of the fuel into the chest, the hopper would suck it up and put it straight into the furnace. Likewise, if you started to put the other ingredients into the chest up here, where the input for the furnace is, then it would start inputting all of the additional chorus fruit that you wanted to put in. Now, because furnaces obviously can't smelt more than one thing at a time, if you put the chorus fruit in with some other kind of material that can be smelted, it's all going to get taken up by the hopper, but the cobblestone is going to wait there in the number 1 slot while the chorus fruit is cooking, and then it's going to be cooked afterwards. The problem with that, of course, is that when the chorus fruit turns into popped chorus fruit and it ends up in the output slot here, there's nowhere for the cobblestone to go once it has been smelted. So the cobblestone is just going to sit here, not cooking, even though there is fuel in the furnace, until the items that are in the output slot are removed. So until we take the popped chorus fruit out of here, it's not going to start smelting the next material. In a similar way, if a hopper continuously feeds items into a furnace, say for example that we had more than 64 chorus fruit, the maximum amount of items that could stack in the output slot would be 64. So even if there were more chorus fruit coming in and it was all the same kind of material, you couldn't start smelting the next batch of stuff until you'd taken the stack of 64 out of the output slot of the furnace. So that's where hopper number 3 comes in. For this stage, we want an output chest, like so, that the hopper can be facing into, like that. And that is going to take the output of items from the bottom of the furnace and place them in a storage chest. Alternatively, if you don't have a chest there, they will just end up staying in the hopper. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to despawn or anything. They're just going to end up in the bottom inventory of the hopper. So in this case, we're going to have an output hopper collecting items in this chest. We're going to have an input hopper for fuel on the back, and we're going to have an input hopper for items on the top, like so. And we can add chests on top of all of these, like so, and that will enable us to put our input items in here, in this case the chorus fruit, our fuel input in there, in this case the coal, and once everything starts smelting in here, it's not going to do it any faster than it would with a normal furnace, but it's going to do it in an automatic fashion. Everything is going to be put through here, the popped chorus fruit disappears immediately, and it's going via this hopper into this chest where we can collect our chorus fruit in the meantime. And as you might have guessed, it is possible to double up on items like this. For example, even if you didn't want to make a double chest, even if you wanted to have two chests side by side, we could reproduce the same setup like so with a completely different set of furnaces, a completely different set of hoppers. And as long as everything is facing into the correct thing, so for example, these two hoppers are both directed into their individual furnaces, both collecting from their individual furnaces and ending up in these individual chests, all of that stuff is going to end up smelting independently of this furnace to its left. Now I'm going to add a final cobblestone into here and remove both the output chest and the hopper to show you something that was added in the most recent update to Minecraft, Minecraft 1.13. One of the advantages to using a furnace regularly is the fact that it gives you XP when you collect the items from the output slot, but in the case of automated furnaces, it is actually not possible to do that because all of the items run straight into the output chest here and there is nothing for you to collect from the output slot, meaning there is no way for you to collect experience until you smelt something with the hopper underneath either locked so that the items stay in the furnace, or you remove the hopper and the output chest entirely. In fact, you'd only have to remove the hopper because that's the thing that's transferring the items to the output chest. But anyway, once you collect a single item, whatever it happens to be, from the output slot of a furnace, you'll be able to collect experience for everything that furnace has smelted up until now. Everything that has gone into the output chests while it's been an automatic furnace has been collecting experience as you go, and it is stored in that furnace until you remove an item. In this way, it is possible to automate the smelting of a whole bunch of resources and still collect the experience from them, which it was not possible to do before Minecraft 1.13. So that is something that has recently been added into the game and I think is a really useful feature. Now, if you want these furnaces to work together, if you want them to smelt all of the same stuff from the input chest, share the fuel chest, and output to the same output chest, it's entirely possible to do that. As long as the hoppers are still facing in like so, you will still be able to collect all of your items in this output chest here. You'll be able to share a fuel chest and an input chest just the same way. Now, one thing to bear in mind actually is that when you're breaking chests above hoppers like so, it's usually a good idea to break the hopper first, because the hopper has sucked up that chest and will actually have put it in the fuel slot of this furnace, because a chest is a wooden item and can still technically be burned like a wooden item, and chests are not a very efficient fuel because they take 8 wood and I'm pretty sure they only burn like 1 or maybe 1.5 items, so best not to use your chests as fuel. Break the hoppers before you break the chests, but like I said, if you want to combine them like so, you can just chuck all of your fuel in there and it will actually be distributed evenly between the two hoppers. Let's say, for example, I put 28 coal in here. We should end up, see, it takes it 2 at a time, and you should end up with 14 coal distributed evenly between the two of them. There we go. Fantastic stuff. Let's explore some more of our options here. So instead of placing a chest on top of here and having the chest end up falling into the furnace slot there, how about we place my shulker box of cobblestone on top here? It will actually still function the same way a chest does. The items will be drawn out of the shulker box into the furnace like so, and the cobblestone is going to start building up in there to the point where we could maybe bring a whole shulker box of cobblestone, pop it on there, bring a whole shulker box of fuel, pop it on there, and that would enable us to collect all the cobblestone in a shulker box and not have to worry about taking it all out to place it in a chest. We can just add one to the other. Now, as before, remember that if you break a shulker box over the top of a hopper, it's going to go straight into the hopper, so make sure that you don't end up accidentally cooking your shulker boxes, although I don't believe they can actually be smelted, but I haven't been brave enough to try quite yet. Now notice, as I said before, the items have started to get backed up in the hopper here because we have 64 items in the fuel slot, and once those 64 items ended up in here, the input slot would still fill up, but we would need to remove those either in an automatic fashion or in a manual fashion for it to continue. But of course, adding more furnaces to this setup is going to mean that you get to smelt the items faster, or the individual items themselves will not smelt much faster, but if you end up with 4 furnaces doing the work, you end up distributing the items evenly over the furnaces, you end up smelting things twice as fast as you would with 2 furnaces. If you've got 4 blocks that you want to smelt, you'll get all of them at once instead of smelting 2 and then having to wait for the next 2. So it's usually a good idea to build up a decent amount of furnaces in order to have a bunch of items smelt at once. Of course, the problem at this stage becomes evenly distributing all of the items among these 4 furnaces when you just have one chest that you want to input the items into. Obviously, if you wanted to put a couple of chests side by side and just manually fill them up with cobblestone, then that's no problem. But there are smarter ways of doing this. And perhaps the best way of doing this is by once again using minecarts. Oh, we've lost a little bit of cobblestone there. Let's grab that from the furnace. There we go. And we'll put a block at this end as well. Now, minecart rail can be placed along the top of hoppers because this allows you to input items from a minecart, whether it be a minecart with a chest or a minecart with a hopper, anything that's got an inventory. You can actually have it travel back and forth along these hoppers and distribute items evenly between them. Now, obviously, the rails will need to be powered and the minecart will need to be running like so, and then we can fill the minecart's inventory up with cobblestone and it will distribute them between the furnaces like so. Now, obviously, it's going to favor the ones in the middle a little bit, but they are pretty much being distributed evenly among these furnaces. Even if the minecart doesn't look like it's traveling far enough over to place items in this hopper, it is. Look, there we go. We've got 16 items in each furnace, a perfect division of the 64 cobblestone we put in there originally. And naturally, if you have enough powered rails and enough hoppers, you can do the same with the fuel input line. So you can have a second minecart with a chest or a hopper minecart if you wanted it to drag items out of an inventory over here, like another chest, for example. You could just have that travel along the back row here and apply fuel to all of these furnaces. Now, the problem right now is that when I place these down, the minecart rail is actually going to switch positions because it thinks I'm trying to build a slope. The trick to not having the powered rails joining up like that is actually to extend them one block past where you want them to travel for the time being, because that means the powered rail will not try and divert midway through the tracks. So now we can place those 4 blocks on there, because if we placed, for example, a 5th block on here and wanted the powered rail to travel one more, because this rail terminates here, it thinks, oh, you want to join it to that next one. And so it tries to join them together and diverts the rail from where we want it to go. But like I said, instead, we just place another block on the end here, add another powered rail to that, and we'll still be able to place a powered rail there. Now we'll be able to automate the input of our fuel and the input of our items. And all of that stuff, thanks to the fact that I've fed these 2 hoppers into the hoppers that we're inputting into this chest, will all end up in here once it's been smelted. And having these 2 powered rail lines running adjacent to each other is actually really efficient when it comes to power, because all you need to do is place a single block there with a lever on it, or maybe even use a redstone block if you want to use that as a power source. But once there is a power source there, it can power both rail lines at once, like so. It's nice and easy. And don't forget that once you've placed the powered rail, it's not going to change position if you take any of the old rails out, so we can place blocks at either end of this row of powered rail here. Now I'm going to make one more minecart, and we're going to place another minecart chest on the fuel track and have that constantly running back and forth. We're going to place one on the input track and have that constantly running back and forth. And now we have an automated smelting setup that will distribute items evenly between these 4 furnaces. It would distribute fuel evenly between these 4 furnaces if I had 2 more hoppers behind here, and then it will gather up all of the items and input them into this chest here. So let's split up these blaze rods. I'm going to imagine that I've managed to get 2 more hoppers to put in there because I don't really have a huge amount of iron. I don't want to use it all up on hoppers right now. We'll put the rest of the blaze rods in here where they'll be distributed evenly between these 2 furnaces, and this one is already smelting some cobblestone that I let fall in there earlier. So let's let this minecart distribute things evenly between these 4 furnaces and watch how quickly the smooth stone starts to flow into this chest here. It's probably going to come in 4 at a time. There we go. Yep, we got our first 4. We're going to get another one from that furnace that started early, but then sooner or later you'll be able to smelt up all of the cobblestone you put in here nice and quickly. And once again, the only limitations to a setup like this are going to be the amount of resources you have. For example, the hoppers alone will take 5 iron each to make. Likewise, the minecarts will take 5 iron each, and if you want to make a hopper minecart, that's an investment of 10 iron per hopper minecart. So if you want to have stuff automatically collected from a nearby chest, it's going to cost you 10 iron just to have that. And then obviously if you want to expand your furnace setup to include a huge amount of furnaces, that's going to require as many hoppers. You're going to need 3 hoppers per furnace because you want an input, a fuel input, and an output hopper. That's going to be a lot of iron. So it is generally not a great idea to try and invest all of your iron into a nice auto-smelting setup unless you're planning on doing a whole lot of digging, or unless you have built an iron farm, which is something we're going to cover in a separate video. But then within about a minute or so, we've actually collected most of the stone that I put in here to smelt in the first place. So it looks like this is going pretty well, and it's going to be something that we can add up here above the sugarcane farm so that we have a smeltery we can set to automatically smelt a ton of stone if we want it. That would have been really useful in the construction of this roof, which, as you can see, requires required a large amount of stone brick. Like, I lost count of quite how many stone brick blocks I put into this, not to mention the stone brick stairs I had to craft for the overhangs and so forth. It is quite a mammoth task building anything on this scale, and so an auto-smelter is always going to help you when you need to smelt a whole bunch of resources at once. And once you get to the point where you're pretty comfortable for resources, pretty much anything is possible. If you imagine having 64 furnaces, which would require you to have 192 hoppers, but 64 furnaces all running at once, you could smelt a stack of items in the time it takes a single furnace to smelt a single item, which would mean basically you could have as much glass or smooth stone or whatever you wanted to smelt as you wanted, as long as you had enough to put in there in the first place. And I hope this video has gone some way to explaining the possibilities for you, and I hope you guys enjoy your first trips into automated smelting. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Please don't forget to leave a like on the episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.